Welcome back to another episode of Triple Scoop. Today we're going to be going over the history of FastPass and how we got to this premier pass that is now being debuted. And we're also going to be going over a little bit of Epic Universe, some exciting news out of there. Let's go on with the episode. So, to quote Rumpelstiltskin, all magic comes with a price, dearie. What is the price we want to pay to be entertained? We talked about this last time, guys. We said that this is kind of our own fault. We created this beast, right? Jordan, I think you were saying that a lot. And I kind of agree with that. So what I wanted to do, and guys, I think it's a good starting point, is to kind of go over the history of how we got here. When did FastPass start? What is FastPass for those that don't even remember it? And kind of go from there. So do either of you know when FastPass actually debuted at Disneyland?
99.
Okay, that was pretty spot on. And for those that don't know what FastPass is, Jeremy, do you want to explain what it is really quick?
That's been a long time. FastPass was basically a system that Disney developed that allows you to scan your ticket, and then they would print another ticket and give you a return time to come back and skip the general queue. And it's sort of the precursor to what became MaxPass and then what became Genie and is now Lightning Lane.
Yeah, so an important thing to note here is that FastPass was introduced as a free service at the park at the time. And the idea behind it, and keep in mind, 1999, this is right when cell phones became kind of, they were big bricks in our pockets, and they played Snake, and that was about it. And they weren't what a smartphone is today, right? So this was before virtual queues. This was before all of that. And it was a way that you were able to go to an attraction, get a return time, and basically cut the line in half, essentially. And it helped mitigate the traffic in the park. It helped increase the park, or the guest experience, rather. And it was an awesome idea. I truly miss it. Something else to note with FastPass was that if you had one, right, you couldn't get another one until your return time. And that's something to notate here. So unlike today with the virtual queue, when everyone's getting on their phone and they're like going crazy with it really quickly, you physically had to walk to the attraction. So let's say you wanted to get an Indiana Jones Fast Pass right at Rope Drop. You would run over there. Maybe you'd go on it. Maybe you wouldn't. You grab the Fast Pass. You couldn't get another Fast Pass at another ride until that time is up. Now, they gave you an hour window to return as well, which is kind of cool. And most of the time, from my experience, cast members were pretty forgiving if you were going over it. Something came up, you had an emergency, blah, blah, blah. They would let you get in, but you couldn't get another one without it. Now, to Jeremy's point, FastPass was good up until a certain point, and then technology kind of caught up to it. The demand for the parks caught up to it, and they introduced MaxPass. And I'm just talking solely at Disneyland, not Florida, because at Florida they had a different system.
But how many years though was that? I mean, it was free for what, like 10, 15 years?
Long time.
Yeah, because like MaxPass was the first time, right, that they started charging, and that debuted in 2017.
That's
so
incredible.
you're looking at them doing a lot of data research there also, probably, right? Like saying, hey, how can we profit off this? Now, what's cool about FastPass also is that it wasn't just used for rides. In fact, World of Color had a FastPass system when that show debuted at California Adventure. And I remember going with you guys and getting the dining packages at like 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, because I didn't want to deal with not getting a ticket in the correct section. And I also didn't really want to deal with the headache of getting in line and like all that. So it was cool that they offered it. Again, this is the precursor to everything that we have at the parks today in terms of dining packages for shows and entertainment. They learned from this and we adapted it from there. Now, when MaxPass came out, it was on the app. And this is the first time that you're able to purchase individual attractions and also pay to cut the line, essentially. So going back to what Jordan was saying prior, we kind of are at fault for where we are today. There is no better way of saying that. We're the problem, and people continue to pay, and that's what's going to increase the cost, right, and the demand.
If I can touch on that really quick, here's one of my points I was telling you about. The deeper I go into building out my own company right now in my startup, there's a really interesting phenomenon that's happening around the world in technology, sorry, there's a really interesting phenomenon that's happening around the world in tech, in games, especially in mobile games, in theme parks and entertainment. It's the idea of the super fan, right? And what is the super fan? The super fans are the people that are willing to spend anything. So if you look at mobile games, for example, we all play like Monopoly Go or Pokemon Go or Candy Crush on our phones, right? And they're free games and you can sit there and just, play whatever. But then you got that small group of people that is just so entertained. They want to be the bigger player. They want to get the higher score. And they're the ones that'll spend $100, $200 on those coin purchase upgrades that we all see and go, I'm not going to spend money on that. That's too much. Why am I going to put that into a phone? But there are people that do that. There's a rule for this. It's the 80-20 rule that says that 20% of your customer base will contribute to 80% of your revenue. So now if we apply that to what's happening, and I had this revelation on it this week, Disney is working the superfans right now. That's exactly what's happening. They're going after that 20% that will pay anything for everything, and they'll just keep paying it. So the rest of us can kind of take a step back and stop, but the superfans are still going to be paying those amounts. Where I think it's going wrong is your single day tickets are also getting out of hand. So the single day tickets should be geared towards everyone else, while the annual passes can be geared towards the super fans and the premier lightning lane and all that stuff. I feel like if they find a better balance there, it can maybe level itself out. At least this is just based on all the research I've been gathering lately for my own company and our own fundraising into what's happening around the world with this. So it's really interesting phenomenon, and I just wanted to bring that up here and see what you guys thought of it.
Jordan, you have any thoughts there?
I mean, I agree with you in a lot of ways. I bring it back to, I really got to learn the official term of companies keeping people in with like microtransactions and things. I thought it was gotcha. That was the term. I'm not sure if that is, but it's so funny how every corporation now has to do that to stay relevant. It's like Disney is involving themselves with, I've done my own videos on merchandising and how they're keeping everyone in with limited editions and certain drops at different times. And Disney excels at that more than any other company. So giving exclusivity at a price has always been their big thing. And it's only going to continue to rise. And Jeremy's right. They're just going to keep going after that percent, because even if they go after that percent, I'll be honest, there's still going to be a big chunk of that 80 that's still going to pay too. So yeah.
But they're not going to. So, okay, I'm going to give you the data on mobile games because it's just so relevant in my mind right now from the research and everything. The whales, super fans in mobile games are considered the whales. That's what they're just called. You get an average of 1% to 3% of the mobile gamers are considered the whales, and they will spend an average of between $1,000 and $5,000 per year just on mobile games per year, and it goes up from there.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's.
I'm guilty. I mean, I'll be candid. I'm guilty of in-app purchases, right? And I think that's what the term is, right? It's called in-app purchase, right? I think that's it.
You're not going to spend $250 on coins.
No,
so you can get a higher place. You're going to
but
it's the correct term for all the blanket of it is microtransactions. Let's just use that.
It's microtransactions, but the point I'm making is like, yeah, I'll pay $1, I'll pay $2, $3, I'll pay $10 once in a while to get rid of the ads if I'm really annoyed. But I'm not going to be the guy spending $10,000 on a skin for my Diablo character.
Yeah,
but there
I
are
agree with
people
that.
that do that, and there's enough of them that if that person buys one skin versus all of the microtransactions that the three of us combined will make in 1 year, they're going to monetize that whale instead, because that's a hell of a lot more money than any of us. So their focus ends up shifting to the people that are going to drop the money, knowing that they're going to drop the money, and then they kind of don't worry about everyone else. And it feels like that's the trend that's being followed right now.
Kind of. I want to go back really quick to MaxPass because I forgot to say something that was kind of important about what the system offered. So MaxPass was the first time also where you could, on your phone, select an attraction and not physically have to walk up to it. So there's a convenience factor to this also, which I think most people would agree they'll take the convenient path over the hard path, right? So this is the first time that you're able to plan your day essentially from sitting on a bench in the park anywhere. And again, you're paying. I'm looking at what it was when it debuted. It started at $10 a day or $75 for the year. Like that's crazy. Like
You were still limited to the one ride per time situation where, you couldn't book another ride till you went on that ride.
yes, that is true. But what also came another perk or feature or benefit that came with the Max Pass is that if you paid for it, you got Photo Pass included with that. So that means that every single ride photo, right, or going character op or anything like that, now you can go. Jordan, I agree with you a little bit there, and I saw the whoop de woo. I mean, I get it, but this going to Jeremy's point, the single day park goer or the once a year park goer, that's a feature and a value because now they're getting that included with this. Yeah, think about a professional I'm going to use the word professional lightly here, but a trained photographer taking your photo on a Nikon camera uh, in a nice setting. I mean, look, you can make that face all you want because you don't like it, but for like a family of four, their first time going to the park, think about it. They'll pay it. They'll get that photo in front of the castle in like a nice, not off their phone. Someone's posing them. The
Well,
ride photos are
I'm going to give
included.
you the numbers again back to my point on this exact topic. Disney, and I'm actually kind of really believing it now that Disney is not even thinking about that family at all. To them, it's just cool. They spent more money. What they're looking at are the annual pass holders that have the top tier that want to come for 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. That
Mhm.
also will pay for Genie Plus and all the premier things because they don't want to wait in lines. They just want to go and they leave. We know here in Southern California, there's a group of pass holders. We've known this for years that they come in like it's their park, and you can see how they talk about it in some of the Facebook groups and whatnot and on Reddit, as opposed to remembering that this is an experience for everyone. And I know we've talked about on past episodes about what Disneyland was started for, but when you really think about it, like, yeah, family four that has to save up to do that once a year trip, for them, it's a special magical time, and Disney's not even thinking about them, which is where I think it's going wrong. But they're looking at, okay, this person is coming 3 days a week. How much can we charge them? Oh, we'll charge them $2,000. Okay, they'll pay for this, they'll pay for that, they'll pay for this. They just monetize that person so much that one person paid more than a dozen families in a year.
See, I'd be interested in seeing the data on that because my understanding has always been pass holders don't spend a lot of money actually. So unless that's changed, because like you're saying, they come for 2 to 3 hours a day. I I would argue that they're not the ones buying Genie Plus. And by the way, Max Pass was discontinued in 2021, and then the new system, if you will, Genie Plus took over, which was honestly like a Genie Plus made me miss Max Pass. I had my issues with Max Pass, but like Genie Plus was hard to navigate. Was the language was weird in the app as well. And I think now we spend more times on our phone at the resort than we do actually like interacting with other people. It's kind of an interesting thing there too.
But remember the
But
20/80 rule, though. Remember, so it's not all pass holders are spending money. It could very well be that 80% of pass holders are coming in with their own food. They're bringing in their own 1 liter bottles of Diet Coke, Ben. They're, yeah, they're just not spending. They're coming, they're waiting in line. They know they're going to come back. But 20%, that's all it takes. And in mobile games, it's less than that. It's like 3%, right? So it could even be 5 to 10%. But the point is that the very small minority are the ones that are covering the largest amount of revenue.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I think it's interesting. I want to see data. I don't know how we even find that data, but like the analytical guy in me and sales guy in me really wants to see how much they're actually selling because there's that. Okay. So we got to where we are today because of people wanting to get exclusive perks, if you will, right? So right after Disney recently announced the ticket increase that we covered last time, a week later, not even a week, was it a week? Had it been less than a week later, they introduced their Premier, what's it called? Premier Lightning Lane.
Yeah, Lightning Lane Premier
Lightning
Pass.
Lane Premier. Now, this pass is starting at $400, but it's a tiered system, just like a park admission ticket. So it could be less depending on the time of year. Now, here's what I think is interesting for this price, okay? Per Disneyland's website, Lightning Lane Premier Pass allows one-time entry to each available Lightning Lane experience in both of the Disneyland Resort theme parks to enjoy your leisure that day. Okay?
Oh,
Let's
that's
say that
nice.
again.
Give you both parks. That's so sweet.
So not so you get to basically cut the line, if you will, but only once. So you're gonna again, so 80-20 rule. Maybe you're right there. Maybe there are people that are like, I'm only gonna come to the park for like 4 hours. I don't want to wait in that line. $400 is worth it to me to do that. I don't know. That's just crazy. But my other thing that I would say with this, and this isn't like a critique, but more of a, if you're going to charge that much money, then I feel like the ride should all be up to show quality constantly. And I think that's an issue we were talking about prior a little bit, right? Was like, what's the park status right now? What's this? What's that? But back to Jordan's point, we've created this monster. We can't put him back in the cage. We can't. It's like, what are you supposed to do? And until we reach an equilibrium, that's just where it's going to be. And Jeremy, to your point, you're right. There will always be super fans out there that will pay a premium. I said previously that, like, for me, entertainment's the industry that I want to work in or be a part of, because you will never not have a job. People will pay a premium to be entertained any given day of the week, and that's
And
clearly the case here.
I just want to throw in, because let's not just Jordan blames the fans every week. It is corporate greed, as Jeremy has also brought up in previous things. I mean, like, this company is struggling to get their stock price up. They're trying to figure out the next direction to go. I mean, their parks are not the suffering part, but their parks are their biggest source of revenue. So they are just going to continue to organize that in the way that maximizes their profits. So,
Well, let me ask you. Let me pose this question to both of you. For this new Premier Pass, what price would you pay realistically, and what would you expect from that?
I would
I'm
pay
never
anything.
paying for it.
Yeah,
What would
and here, let me bring up a comparison for you, and that is Universal Studios Hollywood. Now, I know
Mhm.
there's only like 8 or 9 rides at Universal Studios Hollywood and only a couple shows. It's a much smaller park, and to be honest, you probably don't need to buy any of that stuff. You can get through the whole park in a day. So I know that. However, as if you wanted to buy their express as an add-on to your ticket, it starts at $90. If you wanted to buy Universal Express including admission, it's 100 starts at $199. Now, even more so, the VIP experience starts at $370, which includes express pass for the day. So I don't think I would pay at Disney any of that stuff. But again, I'm not the target. And if we think about this whales thing, which by the way, I'm looking up data right now for you, so I will have something on this show, and I'll just interrupt whoever when I get it. Um, but if we're looking at the whale spend, look at how many people are purchasing VIP tours. How many of those same people are eating at the Blue Bayou? The ones that are buying the fireworks dining packages and the dessert packages and all of these, like, look at the families that are buying all of those plus spending $6,000 a year on top tier passes for their entire family. That's who they're targeting, because they know these people have money to spend because they're spending it. And it sucks because they're singling out the rest of us. And I feel like there needs to be something else, simply because of the business that they're in, because it's Disney, because it's Disneyland. I feel like there's still an ethical responsibility that they have that they're not living up to. But from a business standpoint, I wish what I said mattered on how much I'd be willing to pay, because I know it doesn't.
In other news this week, Disney's biggest competitor, in my opinion, had some pretty exciting news. And I know that Jeremy has been hitting me up constantly about this. So I'm going to let him kind of introduce it, and we're going to talk a little bit about the exciting stuff coming over to, yeah, go for it.
Epic Universe is finally opening. The tickets are on sale, and the hotel has been announced. You can book your rooms and reservations now. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the camera because I have the page here open on my main monitor, and I want to make sure I give you all the correct information. So May 22nd is the opening date, which we've known now for a little bit. The tickets have gone on sale, and the speculation was that, and also they announced actually that it would be packages first. So you had to buy, I think, a 2 or 3 day ticket package. I think it's a 2 day ticket package, and that gives you a third day for Epic Universe. That's the minimum package. It's like $350 base price, and you get 3 days, one part per day, basically. Um, I think that's a solid steal. Like, that's an incredible price considering. I mean, look what Disney's charging to go on a Sunday to one park in Anaheim is $200, right? So this gets you two giant parks plus the brand new Epic Universe. They also opened single day tickets for pass holders only right now, and I believe starting price is $151 for one day at Epic Universe.
Yeah, in June it looks like it's tiered, just like Disney is. But yeah, it looks like in June during the week will be cheaper than the weekend.
But it's
But
not much cheaper.
even
It's like
then,
$5, 5, $10.
no. But
It
the the most expensive ticket that I can see is $164. So you're looking at what, $13-14 difference for like the tiered
exactly.
system, which is not that much at all.
And just to give you an idea of why I think that is such a good deal, the park itself is 110 acres, but the entire development is 750 acres. Epic Universe is larger than both Universal Orlando and Islands of Adventure combined. In terms of size and the amount of things to do. The hotel, the Helios, is, I believe, starting at $350-ish per night, which is half the price of Grand Californian when that one's on sale. And it's right in the park. It's beautiful, brand new. It's a Lowe's hotel. Yeah, I'm incredibly excited for this. I will definitely, that I will pay for. Right, this whole experience is something that I've spoken with my wife in detail about. I fully plan on booking a trip about a year and a half out and just paying it off over time to get ourselves there.
Yeah,
That sounds like so much fun.
I think I'm really excited about this one too. Universal over the years has made me more and more of a fan. And yeah, I've only been to the Hollywood location, which is a small footprint. It is not a big park by any means, but it's interesting to see Disney creative leaving Disney and going over to Universal more and more. And you can see that, I don't know how to say this. Like, you could tell that the rain, like, there's no holds barred. They're given the freedom to really come up with crazy concepts and ideas and really make it more thrilling and more dashing and crazy. The fact that there's the Villains Land Dark Universe to me is awesome. I mean, we've been asking for monsters more and more and more, and I mean, we all know that, Jeremy, you love Halloween time and was spooky, and there's people that love spooky stuff year round. So I'm super excited for that. We saw the response by Disney already, introducing a villain's land and a villain show coming over to the Florida park. That's the immediate response. I'm a big believer in competition. I think that it breeds better business and better practices over time. This is only going to make, if you're a theme park enthusiast, you should be happy about Epic Universe. You should be happy that they're pushing the boundaries and pushing people to choose their vacations a little bit differently. You should be happy that they're taking a share of Disney's market, because in return, we're going to get all the things they announced at D23, and it's going to hopefully happen, right? They said that things were happening. Everything they announced was really coming to fruition. I'm I'm excited to see it happen, but I'm excited about this park. Um, you know, there's a lot of Harry Potter, and even the Harry Potter land excites me because it's so different and unique. And from what you can see in what they're saying is the scale of the land on these buildings is going to be massive, and I'm like super excited to see that. I'm very excited to
I could talk
walk
on
the
that for a
streets.
second too. Like, one of the things that they did with it is, how we have Disney uses a lot of forced perspective, right? Main Street and Disneyland, and especially the castle because they couldn't go too high.
You
In
might need to
Florida,
you might need to explain. You might need to explain what forced perspective is, because
forced
some people might not
perspective
know.
is where, yeah, so forced perspective is where you build something to a smaller scale, and in order to make it look big, you build the bottom floor at scale, and then each level gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so then it looks like from afar, or when you're up close, it looks like a big building, but really it's just a smaller plot thing. But what they did with the Wizarding World at Epic Universe is they said, nope. And they just built like the whole thing is like 4 or 5 stories tall. It's just
Mhm.
massive. And
I mean, that's also based on, construction because I think technology has progressed. I mean, for the longest time in Florida, you couldn't build things that tall because it would sink. So I'm sure they've had some more technology changes to keeping higher structures now.
Yeah, it could be. I never thought about that. I just know if you look at it from above, it's like walkways in between buildings. And so I've been very curious how they're going to manage the flow of people through that. Like I don't know how wide it is. Um, but I'm really curious to see like how are they going to manage that, because you go in through a portal and then it's just pathways to get places surrounded by big buildings. So it's probably going to feel like Paris, in its heyday, or just busy on the streets type of a thing. But I don't know. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I know Jeremy's super excited. I'm excited. Jordan, I know I've been watching your face, watching your reactions. Tell me how you really feel. What are your thoughts, man?
I think it's fine right now, to be honest. I feel like you guys are overhyping it. I want to see it when it's there. Island of Adventure was very hyped when it happened, and it took to put a Harry Potter land in that park for it to become really relevant. Like a lot of the Universal rides are kind of bare bones, lack theming. I understand that theming is going way up on this park, but at the same time, it I understand there's a lot of land, Jeremy, and they're trying to build the world, but it is just 5 lands, and they do have what kind of worries me, a very generic opening land, the Celestial Park, that literally just has a roller coaster that looks pretty generic, that I understand has
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
launches and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
but
But
not
like,
wait. Not only does it have launches, but speculation online and zoomed in photos that I've seen have the flux capacitor on that ride. So
well,
you can say whatever you want.
that's well, no, that's speculation. That's wrong. It's not going to be themed to a
Uh,
ride.
I'm just saying that I think I saw it. People have been saying, okay. I hear what you're saying, Jordan, and I will give you the fact that yes, some of the rides, from what I've never been, but I've seen videos of them. You're right. It's like when you look at, let's use was that Dudley Do
Yeah,
Right Zipsaw,
yeah, Dudley Do Ride's
right?
Water Adventure.
So I'm gonna use that one, and I'm gonna use Tiana slash Splash Mountain as the
Oh,
example.
you had to
When
bring up Tiana's, didn't
I
you?
I was
sure
waiting
did,
for
but
it.
listen, but listen, when you look at that ride, you're right, Jordan. I'm not gonna say there isn't theming, but it's not like you're looking at an impressive animatronics. And Jeremy, to your point previously, you were talking about, do we need to spend that much money on animatronics? And this is where I would argue the difference is. I would argue, to Jordan's point, that Disney does a better job of a dark ride in terms of theming and like stuff like that. And I think if you were to compare Tiana's to that ride, you would see it very. It's there. I don't care
First
about the
time you've
story.
been
Let's
right
call
about
it.
Tiana, Ben. Tiana is
I
a
don't.
better
I
ride
don't.
than a lot of other block flume rides.
Okay, but I
Wait, wait,
will. Going
Here,
off.
here's. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, Ben. Disney does a great job at set dressing. Let's say that,
Mm,
right? Now, Universal, what they're doing that's different is they're not just kind of really looking to toot their own horn. Oh man, I'm probably never getting hired by Disney again. But they are Universal is looking at the big picture of it, right? So, I mean, first of all, in the Harry Potter land, they've now built an animatronic of one of the dark wizards, like actually like firing off of his wand at you, and the ride itself is the elevator shaft that they go in the Ministry of Magic, right? And you go through an entire battle inside of the Ministry, just through the elevator shafts into all the different rooms, up and down. And in game development, we have a term called find the fun, right? Where you should be able to make a video game fun in just a gray box with no art assets, just basic shapes and cubes. If you can't make it fun with just a gray box like that, then it doesn't matter what types of graphics or coding or technology you put into it, because the game itself is going to suck. And we've seen that with tons of products over the years. And to Jordan's point, the storyline, the core of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, that they've just said, right? Oh, like the drops are great, but then just tear it down and build a ride that's like Superman at Six Flags.
Look,
And down.
look, I'm not negate the story. Okay, first of all, I can't wait to go on it in like 2 weeks with my sister. I've seen the videos of Disneyland's version, and I'm telling you, it's better. I'm convinced of it. They're testing the water level, so watching all these videos online of people. Hold on, I'm gonna. I think that we should all truly cast our judgment once we've been on it in person and see how it experiences and feels like. That's my 2 cents there. Going back to Epic Universe though, and to Universal in general, I think that we've all seen Hagrid's motor coaster at Islands of Adventure, right? You know the roller coaster I'm talking about. Okay, so I think that Universal's going in that direction more and more with their storytelling and their set dressing and things like that. At Epic, they have the one of the lands is How to Train Your Dragon, and there's a roller coaster where we've already seen Hiccup is the name. No, not Hiccup. Toothless is the dragon's name, and there's a Toothless animatronic. Now that ride, from what I can tell, is outdoors. There's not a lot to it other than going over the land, but where am I going? There's another ride in Nintendo World, Donkey Kong, that does have a dark component to it. Okay. And, you know, Jordan, I would say that I hear you. I think that Universal in the past, the parks that we grew up with, were lackluster. But as more and more employees of Disney left and went over to Universal, they got the budgets they were getting cut at Disney. They opened them up. They're like, you know what? If we're going to be competitive, we have to outdo them. One of the videos that I saw that really got me excited, almost to the level that Jeremy is, but Jeremy's above me, so like he's on a whole other plane. But they said it when they were building the Dr. Frankenstein, the Monsters Unleashed ride, that they had to create technology. They said that the ideas we had were so crazy that we used a lot of modern technology, and if it wasn't there, we invented it. And that to me tells me that like I'm excited. The
I mean,
innovation is there.
this is definitely you're right when they're saying we brought over Disney Imagineers and stuff like that. Like you can see that it has changed their perception of how they're building this park. And I am saying I did say this. I just want to see it when it's open because they're doing the Disney hype train. They're saying how it's the greatest things that are going to open and that these are their best ideas and everything. I always go back to that quote. I believe it was Tony Baxter that said it, that Disney only would make rides of their great ideas, and only the great ideas were kept like away, like they would never build those, but it was always their ultimate ideas. I think they've 100% gone away from that. It's whatever will get people in, but I do think Universal is maybe trying to put their best foot forward for once, and they've been doing that for almost 10 years now, ever since Harry Potter Land. So I get why you guys are excited. I just want to see it.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think the word that I would use with Universal more and more, is immersiveness. I mean, they opened up Harry Potter. I think one of you corrected me on a past episode. The Harry Potter opened before Cars Land, and I wasn't sure, and that changed the landscape of theme parks. It really made you have to get involved in like every aspect of being somewhere, right? The thought and the detail that went into the land, the experience, from entering to a gift shop, to the bathrooms, to the ride experience, to the food,
Hey,
to the
can
entertainment.
I just say really quick? This is a little teaser. All of that was originally stemmed from Star Trek: The Experience
In
in Las
Vegas,
Vegas.
yes.
Yeah,
Quarks was
yeah.
the best ever. Can we just can we derail this conversation? I miss that fucking place. Excuse my
I
language.
wish it was still there.
Oh man, what was the chicken tenders? Triple tenders. That's what they were called. I think that was like my jam when I was a kid.
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
I've never done this, but Jordan has been saying this for a long time, though. He vehemently like will talk about Star Trek
He is
being the
like the
catalyst for all
founding
this.
father of immersion land.
Yes, it was when you
100%.
got into the elevator and then all of a sudden the lights flickered and it went dark and it opened and you're on the bridge. And it was just, you were literally teleported. That was the first time. That's the first time in my life that an immersive experience was drilled into my brain from the first time I saw it. It so much so to the point that when my family and I would go to Vegas when I was a kid and they'd say, okay, what do you kids want to do? That was it. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about the shows. that was the thing I had to do. When it closed, I was so upset, and I wish they would bring it
And then
back.
it had restaurants, it had bars, it had gift shops, it even had a themed casino. Like, it was an indoor immersion land, and it had never been seen. And I think we have it to
It's a,
thank for what we have today.
yeah, it
100%.
sounds to me. Look, I never did it, but it sounds like it was ahead of its time, and the audience wasn't ready for it just yet because it's. I mean, it closed for a reason. It had to have, and I'm
Oh
sure the
yeah, I
cost
mean,
to
I
run it was
remember
expensive.
going in its closing year, and I got an all-day pass for $30 where I could just ride it all day.
So going back to Epic Universe and Universal in general, I'm excited. I don't think there's anything that they're doing that's super bad right now. Even their international parks are kind of up there, which I'm like, I would love to. I mean, maybe one day, guys, we can take a trip to some of these international parks together and go to Singapore and go to Tokyo and like experience it. I'd be down to do that. That'd be super fun. I also have to say that from an entertainment perspective, I love I love where Universal's going. I know that they took some from Disney with their water show with like, and it looks like World of Color, but now there's videos online again of Epic Universe with how to train your dragon drones, like dragon drones. Like,
I
you
was
want to
just
talk
about
about
to say,
like,
like, this is the difference between, to me, and why I'm more excited about Universal than Disney these days. And Ben knows I've been a Disney nut since I was a kid. So, but right now, dragon drones flying over the land. Disney, this is my biggest qualm with Galaxy's Edge. It is a beautiful, and I've said it before, it's a beautiful film set, right? But and you can hear some sound effects, but the X-wing doesn't even open up or rotate or go up and down. And it's not like they couldn't have built that, but they spent so much time and energy on this gigantic ride that is a lot of fun, but there's a lot that could have been trimmed out of that, and the budget could have gone to other items. Now, my point is that, okay, Avatar Land, that is now, I guess, postponed indefinitely here in Anaheim. Are they going to match that with the birds flying over? Or are we going to be seeing any of the boats from the boat rides going through the lagoon? Or is it just going to be beautiful rock structures and nothing and everything else hidden? So to my another point that I've made previously, when we talk about immersion at Epic Universe versus at Disney and Cars Land versus Harry Potter, right? I think Cars Land was the last one to do it right, where you see the cars all moving around. And if you look closely at the detail in Epic Universe, everything was thought out so specifically, from where the roller coasters go to how the boats are positioned, to make sure that you see everything that's going on, and you're mesmerized so much so that you don't want to look at your phone. You want to look up at the rides. You want to get excited, and you do get excited, and then you run to get in line. And that's the difference, right? It's still a theme park.
the term you're skirting around is kinetic energy, right? You're looking
Yeah,
at the kinetic energy of the land.
yeah.
You're looking at like the movement. Emotional whirlwind at California Adventure is a good example of kinetic energy in my mind. All the little gizmos and gadgets of things whirling around constantly. I think
That
they did a good job
combined
there.
with the roller coaster right around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Yeah.
whole,
Yep.
and then you've also got the Wheel of Death, is what I like to call it, right next to it, the big
The fun
Ferris
wheel.
wheel. Yeah, the fun wheel. Yeah, you've got
Uh,
that
I
emotional
love it.
whirlwind and the roller coaster, and they're all right there in one spot where you can see everything and you just hear the sounds and you see the motion. And it's why the kids are all like, oh, wow. But then when you go to Galaxy's Edge, it's like all you're doing is hearing stuff, and you have to actively search.
So going back to Galaxy's Edge really quick, the budget was cut on that completely. I mean, there's massive reports about this too. The initial idea of the land was to be the the initial idea was that you were going to be part of the resistance as soon as you got in the land, and that when Kylo Ren and the stormtroopers are walking around, right, they're supposed to be interrogating you, and they do that now, but it doesn't flow the way they initially planned it to. And now they're trying to play catch up. They're putting those little droids out in the land and this and that. They recently just hosted a Make a Wish trip with a bunch of kids where they actually did a complete Star Wars adventure that was exactly what the land was supposed to be intended for, and it worked amazingly well from everything that I was reading about it. The kids were engaging with actors, that the actors told them that their mission was and how they who they could talk to and who they couldn't talk to, and then they would have to interact in this land, like you said, a movie set, because that's what it is, right? It's set dressing, it is beautiful, But you're talking about the difference between Universal and Disney. Disney tightened the budget in certain areas. Universal saying open that floodgate up and let's have fun.
I'm gonna
Going back to you, hold on. Going back
okay,
to you
okay.
said you got excited about flying dragons. I would say that Disney's response to that was Spider-Man flying through the air. Now, I've only seen that show once or twice, and it's cool, but it's so short and it's sporadic, and it's one of those things where if you're going to tease Spider-Man, like I want more. I don't want
And I'll be
just.
honest, I think most people are going hoping that it breaks because it's hilarious when that thing breaks through the
It was
wall.
funny. That video was hilarious. I
It-
will say that what was my point? Oh yeah, Galaxy's Edge. I'm not going to buy the budget cut discussion because each park was given a budget that they used of $2 billion. So for $2 billion, you got 2 rides, a restaurant, and some shops. And I'm just going to like, that's insanity. It's like spending $500 million on a Snow White movie. They're never going to make that back. And if they do, they have to do what they're doing with the price tags. And on top of that, like you said, they have to have actors now trained in order to give an immersive experience. Well, what happens if people just say, I don't know, that's too much work for a day? Not only that, but now you're like actively trying to make it something. Whereas if again, look at Epic Universe, you can call it kinetic energy, call it whatever you want. The whole point is that when you're standing in the middle, you're looking up at everything that's around you and you're just overstimulated by all of it. And so that you don't have to do any extra work, any extra training. Like Universal doesn't even hide the employees. Like at Disney, you're not allowed to walk around the park wearing your cast member uniform when you're on break. You have to go into the back, change, and then you can go back out into the park. Universal says screw it. They don't even bother with it, right? And it's kind of like you see the employees walking like, yeah, it's kind of takes you out of the experience a little bit to see the Jurassic World guy walking through Harry Potter land. Like it's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else about the park is so good that they don't even have to worry about it. And that's my whole point.
Okay. Yeah, I would say this about the budgets really quick. There was a hotel that opened up recently and closed already, all about Star Wars. Yeah, so like you want to talk. I think that's the perfect example of an immersive experience that just didn't nail it. You, I, I, I don't know what exactly was wrong from what I saw. If you're a big Star Wars fan, you should have had a blast. I think the price was too high, and I think that the
I mean, it was
add-ons
to
like
cover
Jeremy.
it was to cover the cost of all those employees, though.
That's the point. The overhead costs when they do things this way are so high. They're forgetting this is a theme park. Dial it back a little bit. Focus on the rides. Focus on the fun. And if you focus on that and you show people the fun, all of a sudden you have something that doesn't require nearly as much overhead. And I really think that's what they're doing at Epic. It's brilliant. Like the Donkey Kong roller coaster, they've completely changed the game, right? They've taken the actual video game and made it into a roller coaster where you launch off the track and then you land on it again, which is something we've all dreamed about since we were kids. So now that you can ride that, and they also set it up so that it's the centerpiece of Donkey Kong Country. So when you walk in through it, you see that roller coaster just launch like that and go, oh shit. And that I got to go do that. I got to go do that right now.
What's also cool to me about what they're doing versus what Disney has done in the past is they aren't opening all the rides in every location. Now I know back in the day, Florida's Disney Park and like Walt Disney World and Disneyland, there were complaints about people being like, "Well, I want to go on Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, why isn't that at Walt Disney World?" I actually kind of like that Universal saying, "You know what? We're not going to put everything at every single park. We're going to give people a reason to jump around to our different parks." Kind of like how California is getting Fast and the Furious Hollywood Drift specific to our park. No one else is getting that, and that ride we can get we'll get deeper into that ride as more as it gets further along in construction, and it's getting super cool. But again, they're not building that over in Florida. Florida has the Velocicoaster. We're not getting a Velocicoaster. We're getting our own version of it. Now, what I would like to see Universal do, which I don't think they're going to do, is be a little bit more size inclusive with their ride systems. That's my biggest gripe with them. I'm a big guy. I'll never be a small guy, even if I like, I don't know, I'll never be tiny. Okay. And I know I can lose some pounds here and there, but some of the rides to get on, like I can't, I can't go on Harry Potter, like the Forbidden Journey, and like that's a thing. And I'm not saying they have to cater to like every plus size guest. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to make it that movement. But my hope is that they do hear some of the gripes, that they do take that into consideration. Because like for me, if I would just spend all that money to fly all the way to Florida and then basically not be able to do anything, I would be I'd be furious, to be honest with you. So,
I'll
and I know
agree
they'll
that
put stuff online.
way better. Disney does that way better than Universal. That I'll definitely agree on. It is kind of lame, and they should
But
fix that issue.
well, I also would say that like the ride systems that Universal's using are more thrilling. Like they're putting you on a robotic arm, like literally, and throwing you around. And again, that's when I was saying at Avengers Campus, the ride we're getting. I'm curious to see how that works, because I have a feeling that they're doing that for a specific reason in terms of safety. And that's why with this new Harry Potter ride, for example, the elevator thing, I keep thinking it's going to be a robotic arm type of situation again or something. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. All things to be determined. Like Jordan was saying, I want to go to the park too. I do want to see it in person. I want to experience it. We can speculate and talk all day about this stuff, and get super pumped. But I think that our time is about up for this episode. Things to look forward to, though, just really quickly. Holidays at the Disneyland Resort start in like 3 weeks. November 15th is the official opening day of the holidays. That is also the grand opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disneyland. If you are going that weekend, God have mercy on you, because that is going to be the craziest weekend ever. I've had people reach out to me, honestly, being like, "I'm going this weekend. What are my tips?" And part of me is like, "Stay home." like, like I,
For a Lightning Lane Premier Pass. That's your
yeah,
advice.
right, right. Look, it's going to be a fun weekend. We'll get more into the holidays as I get closer. We're going to more of the details there. Jordan wants to say something. Go for it.
Today on Vault Jordan.
I don't know. Do you still want to do it? I don't care. Keep going. What's on Vault Jordan today?
Woo, maybe I'll make a title intro today. It's going to be magical. Come on through. All right, everybody. I want to talk about the reason FastPass was created. It was to get into the biggest rides and have a shorter line. And the first ride that it was really meant for was one of the rides we talked about today, Indiana Jones and the Temple of
Mhm.
Doom. And I have a quick question for both of you. Who was the original sponsor for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
Oh, I know this Kodak or
Yeah, I'm not gonna get it.
I know it. I think it's Kodak, because I know that they used to have like the sign as you leave, being like, and make all your things memorable. Who is it? It's
No,
someone I know.
it
Who is
was
it?
AT&T.
Oh, okay.
And they actually, paid for part of the building of that ride. And that's why it is so like it was such a big part of that ride at the time. I don't know if you guys both remember that when you first went on the ride, you were gifted a little card that one side had AT&T information on where to call them and everything, but then on the other side, it had the decoder things for all the symbols that are inside the queue and the funny words that it had, which was like, I don't know, dare to enter and, you know, have a magical day, stuff like that, like really simple things. And that stuff is still ingrained there, even though the sponsorship has been gone, I believe, for almost 15 years now. That's still there. They spent a lot of money into that ride, and it made it as special as it is today. Because I know originally that ride was supposed to be like either a roller coaster or a much smaller walking experience. Amazingly, I'm saying a nice thing here. A corporate sponsorship made that the ride it is today, which is one of the iconic Disney attractions.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you brought to light the overseas Asian parks, right? They're all not owned by Disney, and you're explaining that the reason why those parks are leaps and bounds a little bit more immersive or better, or this or that, is because it's not all funded by Disney. So there's incentive for the government, because I think it's government owned, right? That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think in some part they're all government owned. Yeah.
Yeah, so they want to increase tourism. They want people to come to the parks, and it's all good. But that's super interesting. I Thanks for sharing that, Jordan. That's a little bit of knowledge that I didn't know. I do remember the decoder.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good time, and there was a poster when it came out, drawn by Drew Struzan. So it's like they really upped that opening of that ride. So I just wanted to call that back. So thank you for joining Vault Jordan.
Well, Jordan, thank you for that. Guys, I think that there's a lot to look forward to. We're going to keep recapping the latest news and rumors for all theme parks coming your way. Clearly, I'm the Disney guy. Jordan's the middle guy. Jeremy is more of the Universal guy now. So you get a difference of opinions. But as we say, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, check our podcast out wherever you get them. I'm Ben. That's Jordan. That's Jeremy. And until next time, have a good day, and see you later, Scoopers.